I am back. My apologies. I had to be gone for 2 days for a funeral. I had to fly out of state. But while I was gone, Diablo Immortal dropped some new, fairly large news. And we're talking, of course, about a new class, a new zone, and more. But for right now, let's talk about the new class. Now, if you look at this right here, you're going to be seeing this is the We're Raising Hell. Diablo Immortal is turning 1, which is going to be the anniversary event on June 2nd, will be the 1-year marking of Diablo Immortal being out in the game. And we've seen many updates come to the game in this year. However, there has been one update that we have been talking about, speculating about since the very beginning. You probably know where I'm going with this. So there's an upcoming Diablo 4 launch celebration, which is also part of the Diablo Immortal celebration. So the 1-year anniversary coincides with the launch of Diablo 4 of the pre-early access. So because of that, they're doing a Immortal D4 collab type of deal. Now there's going to be a Lilith themed cosmetic, Lilith of course being the big bad for Diablo 4. There's going to be a new zone and a new class. Now if you've been following the channel, you are probably familiar with what the new class is going to be. Since the first day on Diablo Immortal, it has been Datamined. I believe Wowhead did it first, and of course our good buddy Datamined ARPG has been showing that the Blood Knight not only is in the files as the Blood Knight, but we have textures, we have images of what he looks like, we have the skill set, all of which has been covered on this channel multiple times. So much to the point where it's like, damn, let's stop talking about the Blood Knight till it actually gets into the game. And here's the thing. Blood Knight's not coming to the game. You know what is coming to the game, however? The Shadow Knight. Now, if we hop over to Twitter, you're going to see Datamined ARPG talking about how the Blood Knight seems to be renamed the Shadow Knight in the game files. Now, I have been talking to him a little bit off camera here, discussing this, and I think the breakdown on this most likely has to do with the way China's regulations are going. In fact, let me actually walk you through why this is a Shadow Knight, not a Blood Knight. Now, here's an article all the way back in 2019, April 22nd, where basically, you don't have to read all of this, but I'll break it down for you. Effectively, there was regulations formed in China that say you can't have corpses, anything death-related, and blood is one of the things that they say. For instance, no pools of blood or dead bodies. Well, this is obviously a problem for things like necromancers. So if you actually look at how NetEase develops the game in China, the necromancer doesn't have skeleton guys walking around. They've got dudes that look very thin. Okay, it's actually pretty funny. So what we have in the game is we have a Blood Knight, but you can't release a Blood Knight in China. You can't have a blood in a video game. In fact, the regulations go on to say that not only can you not have pools of blood, you can't even change the colors of the pools of blood if that's what it's supposed to be. You can't have blue blood. You can't have green blood. It can't be blood. So how are they going to get around this with a class that's already created around the blood theme? Well, they're probably transitioning. And I think part of the reason it took so long to get the class out into the game, again, speculation, but that's what we're working with right now. They're probably making the Blood Knight class into the Shadow Knight class, and it's going to be shadows instead of blood because you can work with shadows over in China. And as we know, the game is being developed and is the largest in the East. Now, what's interesting about this, they say the following: we're nearly ready to release a new class with which you can defend the world of Sanctuary. This class bleeds new blood into the Diablo universe with its appearance in Immortal. So, bleeds new blood. They use blood a lot. They're gaslighting us to let us know it's basically the Blood Knight in the NA version, but they have to swap it to Shadow. That's basically what they're telling us here. What's really interesting, it says it favors a mid-range playstyle using a classic weapon type. And then we have this nice little image that looks like red eyes and some pretty cool hair. Hopefully, maybe the class coming to the game has ginger hair. That could be lovely. Now, here we have some snippets of code showing join the Shadow Knight in command of the endless power that surround our home. And this is showing a date of July 13th, which would coincide correctly with what Blizzard is saying, which is June, we're having the Diablo Immortal / D4 launch celebration, and then going into July, you expect a new class. So that seems about accurate. And for the people that don't know, this is from Wowhead here. I'll put a link to this so you can read this yourself if you want. But this was basically the original data mine that was effectively over a year ago at this point that showed what it looks like the Blood Knight actually looks like. And they actually have a full list of skills. What's quite interesting about this is the Blood Knight summons a bat troop. So there's some bats in here. There's also Blood Suck, which drains the life of the enemy. I'm assuming inside some type of blood move. There's a Blood Blade, but there's also a good amount of ranged attacks. There's a Shadow spear toss, etc., which would make sense because this class is supposed to be mid-range, so it's almost like a spellcaster, a death knight, if you will. But basically, all of the moves have to do with blood, so it could have been the type of situation where this guy, nay, can't do that in China. We need to rework it into a Shadow Knight, which honestly, Shadow Knight's pretty cool. Maybe a little bit more of an edgelord than Blood Knight, admittedly, but I can work with Shadow over Blood, so it doesn't matter too much to me. Although I do think it's interesting that it looks like there's a bald man that has red eyes, and in this one we are definitely seeing the red eyes, but he's not so bald. So once again, I am hoping, Diablo? Did you add a ginger with red eyes, perhaps? Now, there is actually more to cover in this update, but I'm going to be doing this in a separate video as I have a significant amount of data mined information. Everything from new hell difficulties, things called curse difficulties, things called fair PvP, and more. So if you're interested in seeing that, that video will be out most likely tomorrow morning. So hit like on this video to help me out, subscribe and hit the bell on the channel. That way you'll be notified as soon as I publish that data mined information. And I'm going to have a link down below both to the WoW head, so if you want to read the potential skills for the Blood Knight, as well as the Datamined ARPG, so you can follow him on Twitter to get updated with the Datamined information firsthand. With that being said, love you all. I apologize for my absence over the last 2 days, and I'll see you guys on the next video.